guys. I'm so happy to be with you again. You know, a few months ago, a viewer asked me if I would create a video about the Pleiadians. So I put it on the list, and finally, here we go. You know, the odd thing is, as a starseed, you would think I would have already created a podcast about that ET race. But the truth is, for some reason, I never really focused on them as much as some of the other star races. Actually, I think it might be because back then, I noticed it was getting to be kind of a new age thing, you know, where everyone was talking to the Pleiadians, like they were some sort of angels or something, you know, like these magical beings from far away. So let's see if we can kind of encapsulate who these wonderful beings really are. Well, the race that we've come to know as the Pleiadians originally came from the planet Lyra, when a negative star race invaded their world. And this was during what is known as the Orion Wars, mainly located in the constellations of Draco and Orion, which began over 20 million years ago. And it was these wars that are depicted in the Star Wars movies. Well, even more than 40,000 years ago, our galaxy was still under this threat of the reptilians of the Orion Council, with their objective to dominate and control. They saw the Lyrians, or Lyrians, as nothing more than cattle to be used as either food or slaves. The Lyrian race was harshly persecuted by these reptilians. And this is when the Federation of United Planets, made up of positive races like the Arcturians, Andromedans, Syrians, and others, gathered forces to fight the reptilians, and a bloody war ensued, bringing many civilizations who were under the domination of the Orion Council to the brink of extinction. Well, during this time, small groups of Lyrians had managed to escape and scattered themselves out among the stars. After a long and dangerous journey, some of these refugees managed to reach the Pleiades, the star cluster, and were able to establish themselves on several planets. But because the war was still going on, they were concerned about being discovered, so they mostly settled underground. Well, there also were groups of Lyrians who settled on Venus, where there was already an advanced interstellar holographic society. These peaceful Lyrians also settled on Earth, as well as on Mars. On Earth, they were the ones who established Stonehenge and other monoliths. They were also the ones who painted the star maps that were found in caves as an attempt to tell their story. And by the way, these cave drawings are not the hunting scenes that they appear to be. For example, each smaller animal represents a star. A larger animal represents a constellation. And each hunter with a spear represents a ship, and the spear indicates the direction they came from or went. So anyway, of course, there's a ton of information we could go into here. But for now, I'll focus on those who settled in the Pleiades. The Seven Sisters is a pattern of stars in the M45 Pleiades star cluster that is actually made up of hundreds of stars, more than 1,000 or so, in the constellation Taurus, located approximately 422 light years away from Earth. And as you know, the reason we're all talking about the Pleiadian star race is that it is one of the most recognized and intriguing extraterrestrial civilizations in the cosmos, and has captivated the imagination and curiosity of starseeds and researchers alike. Well, obviously the Pleiadians as a subject in itself is huge. So I'll attempt to generalize the topic a bit into what I feel might be of most interest. Well, after settling on the planets in the star cluster, some of these new Pleiadians rebelled against living underground and became defiant, striking out on their own. Some building military fleets, some actually joining forces with the Orion reptilians. And these insurgents remain today. You know, there was a Star Trek episode about these renegade groups, making the point that they're not all necessarily traitors. They just don't have the same convictions as their predecessors. And they sought out their own freedom above all. So, you know, it's also significant to point out here that the classification Pleiadian within it consists of a number of individual groups, even varying in density, some in fifth density as physical beings, others of even higher dimensional realms. Well, over time, some have developed their own specific dialect and language differences, as well as cultural characteristics such as self-government and independent leadership. You know, a great example of a sovereign society are the Taygetan Pleiadians, who come from the planets surrounding the great sun Taygeta. And they inhabit the planets Erra, Temmer, Procyon, and Dakote. In their language, they refer to this star, Taygeta, as Moma, meaning mother. The Taygetans are fifth density biological beings. And although they look very similar to humans, they do possess many internal differences, such as the heart and lungs are much larger than humans. And the bones are denser and stronger. And they have only one blood type, O positive. Oh, the brain is also larger and is in one single mass rather than split like humans, and with a more pronounced frontal lobe. And their pineal gland is 400% larger and is fused into the corpus callosum. Also, rather than the human's 23 pairs of chromosomes, Taygetans have 24 chromosomes and 12 strands of DNA. Well, the Taygetan Pleiadians were once one of the most feared and militarized of all star races, and known for their warrior-like skills at military defense strategies and time travel. Today, they tend to exist more as peaceful citizens of a holographic society. And, you know, they actually prefer not to be referred to only as Pleiadians, but as Taygetans, because they consider themselves with distinct cultural differences than many of the other Pleiadian groups. They're a matriarchal society, women outnumbering men, of explorers, scientists, fighter pilots, and have been in close contact with Earth for thousands of years. Many even coming down to Earth to live. Others using technology to come to Earth as walk-ins. They're all very beautiful, both men and women, and live to be 500 to 1,000 years old, maybe older, yet appear to be in their mid-20s, no matter how old they get. The Taygetans have had an association with the human race since the beginning of our history. In fact, they had a star base in Lemuria more than 20,000 years ago, and have had other bases on Earth at various times in history, including one in what would later become Egypt. Then they were very active on the planet again in 1919, just after World War I ended. Then again, more constantly since 1952, and in even more numbers since 2008. In 1952, they came in force as a reaction to the atomic testing, and they spoke to the political leaders at that time in hopes of convincing them to stop these dangerous tests. Because the fallout from these atomic explosions affected not only planet Earth, but far out into space and beyond. When they contacted the then President Eisenhower in 1954, because they appeared as beautiful young women, he just totally poo-pooed them and was very rude and arrogant, macho, because even though he saw them emerge from what would have then been called a flying saucer or a UFO, he didn't believe who they said they were. In fact, Nixon later referred to them as those Canadian girls. Oh, brother. Anyway, so as conditions on the planet worsened, they sent some of their crew back in time, using time travel, back to 1937, and interacted with the Nazis, hoping to stop the war before it got completely out of control. You might want to research the Vril Society and Maria Orsic for more info. Unfortunately, probably if you Google the information, it'll probably all be wrong. But I will just say that Maria Orsic was a Taygetan Pleiadian. In 2008, there were 36,000 Taygetans here in 29 large ships in orbit above Earth. Today, there are only just recently, 3 Taygetan ships in orbit. They're here as a consequence of the Orion Wars and can manipulate and affect the timelines to assist as dangerous or volatile situations occur on the planet. Their goal is to awaken humans to their inner power and to what they are capable of. They want to open the minds of humans to what exists beyond their little world and let them know they're not alone. They are guides to help us grow spiritually. They're also here to help liberate the Earth from aggressive alien races, mostly of the reptilian origin, who are trying to take over the planet for their own. The Taygetans, as scientists, are studying the ascension of mankind and assisting where they can. They're also here monitoring their own starseeds and will eventually bring them back home. Many ET races, mainly from the Federation of Planets, have their starseeds on Earth now, and they're continuing to monitor them and keep them safe, and if necessary, bring them back up to the ship. So, what do they look like? Well, most Pleiadians are described to look very much like Scandinavian humans. Starseeds or channels who've come into their presence describe them as very attractive, tall, fair-skinned beings with blonde hair and luminous sapphire-colored eyes, and exuding a kind of otherworldly energy that resonates with all of those who encounter them. However, some Taygetans look very different than those Nordic blondes we've all heard about. The women are very beautiful, but not always blonde. And the men are very tall and extremely muscular, strong, with full beards and long dark hair. And they have twice the strength and endurance of human males. They actually look much more like fierce Viking warriors than the usual blonde Pleiadian or Nordic male is portrayed. Typically, the Pleiadians are renowned for their advanced technology and a deep connection to spirituality and ancient knowledge, profound wisdom. The bulk of their society being founded upon principles of harmony, unity, and love, which they firmly believe are the cornerstones of both personal and collective evolution. And through their vast cosmic understanding, they have mastered advanced technologies and spiritual practices that promote the well-being and enlightenment of all beings. Again, predominantly, guidance and mentorship are intrinsic to the Pleiadian culture. They see themselves as peaceful guardians and loving stewards of the universe, committed to assisting humanity on its evolutionary path. Their genuine desire to help others stems from their acute awareness of Earth's potential and the growth humanity could achieve with their support. In fact, one of the most distinguishing features of the Pleiadian star race is their affinity for Earth. As Lyrians themselves, Pleiadians have a long-standing relationship with humanity, dating back to ancient times. Legends and myths from various civilizations, such as the Greeks and Native Americans, speak of star beings originating from the Pleiades, who have influenced our development, our culture and spirituality. Pleiadians are highly skilled healers and energy workers. Their advanced abilities allow them to facilitate extraordinary healing on physical, emotional, and spiritual levels. Their advanced therapies incorporate a harmonious blend of sacred geometry, crystal technology, and vibrational frequencies to restore balance and wholeness in individuals. And much of this technology is included in their healing chambers and medical pods. Although Pleiadians possess a very progressive understanding of technology, it's really their spiritual and emotional intelligence that sets them apart. They, more often than not, stress the cultivation of empathy and heart-centered consciousness as the keys to achieving true enlightenment. Therefore, their teachings, if you will, revolve around concepts such as self-love, inner peace, and an interconnection with the web of life. However, even with this unwavering commitment to peace and their insatiable thirst for knowledge, they do actually have their occasional enemies, such as the negative extraterrestrial civilizations like the reptilians, Dracos, and the Orion group, and the insidious forces of darkness that seek to disrupt the natural balance of the universe. These, those entities that forgo the notion of harmony and connection and embrace destructive actions. These civilizations actually may be driven by fear or greed or a distorted sense of power. Yet, interestingly, most Pleiadians do not necessarily perceive these rivals as evil adversaries, but rather tend to view these negatives not so much as enemies to be fought, but as misguided souls, yearning to rediscover their true essence. They try to view them as potential allies on a path toward enlightenment and growth, and will initially try to extend a hand of friendship, hoping to assist them in reconnecting with the universal language of love and unity that permeates all of life. But this doesn't mean that they are not warriors and fully capable of military retaliation when required. And if the negative forces push them to respond, they will strike out without hesitation or reproach. Those forces of more obvious darkness or evil do indeed pose a different kind of challenge. These corrupt or immoral true enemies emanate from lower vibrational realms where ego and separation are rampant. Their purpose is to perpetuate disharmony, discord, suffering throughout the cosmos. While the Pleiadians acknowledge the existence of this darkness, they remain who they are, steadfast in their mission to anchor and radiate light in even the darkest corners of existence, yet sometimes finding it necessary to fight back with the strength of warriors. However, like I said, whenever possible, to make their point through love, compassion, and unified collective consciousness, and always strive to transmute those darker forces into alignment with the divine order. So, from my best understanding, the Pleiadian star race as a whole is a race of celestial beings whose dedication to enlightenment and the betterment of all has forever shaped our collective journey through the universe. And as humanity continues to expand its consciousness and embrace its galactic identity, the Pleiadians serve as guiding lights, assisting us in remembering our own inherent divinity. Their primary mission is to empower humanity, urging us to embrace love, unity, and the pursuit of spiritual growth. So, by tapping into their profound wisdom, humanity can accelerate its own evolution and learn to live in harmony with the cosmos. Thanks so much, guys. See you next time. Bye.